Welcome to the Exceptional Sales Leader Podcast with Darren Mitchell. If you're a sales leader looking to take your leadership to a whole new level, then this is the podcast for you. We'll be exploring tips, techniques, and strategies to help you take your leadership to the exceptional level and allow you to enjoy more money, more meaning, and better sales results. Welcome back to the Exceptional Sales Leader Podcast. Darren Mitchell on what is a magnificent windy day here in Australia. It is Tuesday as we're recording this, and I have absolute pleasure of welcoming in from, are you in Seattle now? Is that where you are?
I am in Seattle proper.
You're in Seattle, right in the heart of Seattle, Washington.
No. I'm in the suburbs. I'm not fond of downtown Seattle. I like the suburbs.
Where it's nice. Mr. Mark Howley, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's we were just having a great conversation, and we were going off and on mute for the last 15 minutes.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll stay off mute. Who knows? I'll keep talking.
Just talking, and if there's, for people listening to this, if it means that Mark is about very confidential. That's not for people's ears.
Yeah, I got nothing confidential. I got nothing to hide.
Mark, you have you've got a long and established career in business. We were just talking before we press record. Hey, you've had a long career in sales. You ended up working for a company, pretty much ended up owning a company, then sold the company, and now you're paying things forward and running a great podcast called the Mark Howley Show.
Thank you.
You're doing all that, so adding value to business people and certainly younger generation as well. Love to delve in all of that, particularly the fact that you're also a father of 5 daughters. Mate, I've got 2 daughters, and that's hard enough, but having 5.
Well, in for a penny, in for a pound,
Wow.
What the hell?
That is unbelievable. But also, I think you mentioned before before we pressed record, you mentioned the word rehab. So I know that you're 40 years sober. Is that correct?
I've been sober. I don't proselytize. I don't pontificate. I think that's kind of, if you're out there, you have it. I suspect you know it. And It's a stinky place to be. It causes great pain. And I think with that in mind, I can talk a little bit about just that earlier stage of my my professional life. I went to rehab, and then I decided to go back and do a little touch-up course in detox, which is it's just a horrible thing to have to go through. And when you reach that point in your life, it's dark, very dark. Mm-hmm. And I thankfully got out of that, a very supporting family. I'm one of 8, and got a job in inside sales. Got a job selling for a guy who sold bags. And they sold coffee bags, the bag that you stick coffee in, like a Starbucks bag.
Okay.
And started in inside sales. And really, I think all I wanted at that point was a pat on the back.
Yeah.
I wanted a single. I wanted a double. I wasn't looking for a home run initially. And so I just dove in. I just started reading books on doing cold calling. And back then there was a lot of the, whoa, you're going to make $1 million. And I never bought into that. I always had this sense of like, okay, this is going to be a long one. This is going to be, we're going to play long here. I guess it was my dad always used to say it's a long game. And it is that for anybody new. And so I got down to the point where I was the really good inside sales guy, became a regional guy, and became very good at that. That was more account management and growth. Then I became a national guy who, if anybody knows, there's a small coffee company named Starbucks. My company supplied all the machines that would make the bag and then drop coffee into it, which is, known as form, fill, and seal. You form the bag, you fill it, and you seal it. Yep. Some people do or don't know that. Anyway, sold that equipment, and then eventually product manager, and then a sales manager. And that was over about a 10-year, 12-year period. At which time I just was, I felt I had to do something on my own, just had to. There
Yeah.
was no choice. I wish I could give a logical reason. There isn't a logical reason for launching on your own. There just isn't. So had three kids, quit, and jumped on with this smaller company from Seattle that was in the same market. Down on the lower side, they were dealing with all the small coffee roasters,
Hmm.
and I moved over there. I moved to Seattle, and then they almost went under. And whoa, they were going under when a group of investors who were in owning the company, what they call is a push down, squeeze out is what they call it.
Yeah.
Basically, they took over the company and got rid of all the guys they didn't like, and turned around and said to me, "You've been doing this for 15 years. What do you think? And would you put together a plan to get us out of it?" So I did, and wrote out a business plan, and we got the bank paid off. Then turned around the investors, and I said, "Well, why don't I buy you? Like, why am I working for you when I see the dividends? I get 10%, and I get $10 and you get 90." And
Yeah.
very candidly, I said, "I want the 90."
Yeah.
And they said, "Well, then you got to buy us." And I was like, "Okay." So to be candid with you, I was like, "Oh shit, now I'm going to buy this thing." So running around trying to give people to give you millions of dollars is you're a high risk. And that's the thing anybody trying to get money has to realize is when you're a small business, you are high risk.
Mm.
We were in a very stable market, very stable company, had 2,500 clients buying from me. Only the highest customer I had consumed only about 8% of our business. But the reality is, you're a small business, you're risky.
Mm.
So I had to borrow some money, a fair amount, $5, $6 million, at like 15% interest.
Whoa.
Oh yeah, that was what, and that's called venture capital. That's what it was. They think of you as just like, yeah, we'll invest in 20 people, and 15 of them will blow up, and lo and behold, we paid them all off, and
Wow.
eventually owned the company, and that was a lot of hard work. You can pass it over, a lot of trudgery, a lot of planning. So in the end, at 59, somebody came along, and a larger company wanted to buy it,
Mm.
and I sold it. I sold it for what was I know was a better. I was buying shares back from investors to take ownership of the company.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I know that the people who bought me paid considerably more. I was buying it what we would say is four times earnings, four to
Yeah.
five times earnings is what I'm taking my buying back from. And I could just tell you that I sold it for significantly more, which was not me being a genius. It was somebody coming along and offering it. It's not like I went out there and said, "Oh, I'm worth 10." And they just said, "You're worth 12." And I'm like, "Oh, shit.
Okay.
Good."
Where do I
Wow, that's
sign?
great.
And then
I
now
agree.
what do I do? What do I do with my time? I'll start a
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah, well, what the hell? I'm 59, and I got I got these five daughters, running around, and been married for 35 years, and you know, y- trying to enjoy that.
Mm.
I think I'm doing it, but I think I think we want to talk a little bit about what my views are on selling and growing in sales.
Yeah. So love to first of all ask you. You jumped into sales as an inside sales and you worked your way up. You mentioned before you're doing a lot of cold calling and eventually got to the stage where you jumped ship. Obviously, there was an opportunity, a perceived opportunity. Looking back, I mean, everything happens for a reason. If you look back on your early selling days, what were some of the key lessons that you learnt back then that enabled you to be really successful and eventually own the company that you've just recently sold?
I think, I would say that the thing I realized was a lot of guys that were working around me were just winging it. We're just going to go do this sales thing like it's just cool.
Yeah,
And I had a friend of mine once who said to me, "Are you selling? Like, do you really know your shit?" Pardon my language.
yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, man, I know my stuff," thinking I was just quick and cool. And he said, "No, no, no. Are you studying it? Are you all in?"
Mm,
And I was like, "No, I'm not." And when I looked around my group that I was with, I realized they weren't. And something sparked in me that said, start reading books, listening to tapes, Brian Tracy's Psychology of Selling.
Mm,
There's a guy named Og Mandino, the greatest salesman in the world. Uh, I just started reading and listening and reading and listening and applying it. And I realized just time made me better.
mm,
That the people around me, they just couldn't run at my speed.
yeah.
They just couldn't. And I didn't, I thought, wow, so this kind of is a good way to do it. And I started to notice that the people one rung above me really were doing the same thing, just sloppy attacking. And I started to think, well, no, that's not the way to do it.
Mm,
And that every stage of my life, I've looked at it as, um, yeah, I think I could probably beat the people around me, but not without studying
mm.
and playing long, not thinking it's going to happen fast.
Well, I was just on that one, I was going to ask you, and I fully concur in terms of the books, the tapes, and now podcasts and videos and stuff like that, and surrounding yourself with good people. When you say playing long, how much pressure did you have from the business, maybe from your one-up manager, to focus on, no, no, we've got a target to hit this week or this month or this quarter. So how did you marry up or balance the focus of long term, knowing that this was going to be a long game, with the short term expectation of getting results?
It's really weird. When I was working for somebody, I never, like their forecast somehow didn't, like it didn't freak me out.
Mm,
I had a feeling that I knew I was working hard. I knew they were getting the most they could get out of somebody. And I had an internal faith that, that if I don't get it done, then it's not because I didn't do everything I could. I mean, I would consult with my boss. I would talk with my boss. I was very um, active in the market. I'm a big believer in a little bit of, um, I think selling sometimes is for a super highly intelligent monkey. And you know, if you're giving your orders, and you go do it, you'll learn. But the problem is we put these human brains in there and we start shortcutting or getting anxious or losing that faith that I believe to this day that
mm,
there are methods. And if you give them time, they'll bear results. And I think for me, it was early in my career, it was activity.
yeah.
It was activity. And that I learned that if I continued to be what I would say is more tactical early in my career, that
Hmm.
meaning spot to spot, get from point A, get to point B, get to point C.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate that I was in a market that was very focused. I was forced to be. So my skills and knowledge became better and better within that market,
Mm,
which I think if somebody is younger, I think one of the things that I notice is they get happy feet, and that is they this isn't for me. That's not for me, and you jump before you even know what it is.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's just my observation is watching younger salespeople come into the profession. They don't give it time.
And do you
How
think
do you?
that, Mark, is, sorry to interrupt you, do you think that's more a symptom of society that have everything now, the instant gratification, it's got to work immediately. I've got expectations that if I'm going to go and talk to a customer, there must be a sale there, and if not, then I'm wasting my time. I'll go and do something else.
I think it's natural for old guys to think young guys are doing it wrong. And I would say, yeah, I think so from my perspective, but I'm not in their reality.
Mm,
Um, I do think ultimately, if you're going to sell something that someone's going to buy for a long time or is going to take a long time and you want to create real wealth, that the only way to do it is to stay put.
Mm,
And I do think that'll flush itself out. That sooner or later you're going to become, I think most people find some sort of a roughly traditional lifestyle, and the financial requirements are going to be there that you have to stay put.
mm.
If you keep thinking things are going to happen fast, 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 well, sooner or later you're going to be 30 and you didn't get anywhere.
Yes.
You just jumped around like a little bug all around the place. And the person who's 40, who's hiring people, is going to go, I don't want the 30-year-old who's a little bug jumping all over the place. And there are good ones out there. There's a lot of good young people out there.
Mm,
It's just unfortunately there is this impatience that is in them, and I think it's just there. It's
yeah.
unfortunate,
Yeah.
but it's there.
It is. I think I, I see that a lot, and certainly when I was running sales teams, I looked at people's resumes, and if they were there, if they were at an organization for say 18 months, I'd always have a question mark over that. I wouldn't necessarily brandish them as being a jumper or a instant gratification chaser, but I would often have a question mark over them, which I'd need to verify. Is there a reason why these people were only spending a short amount of time in these organizations, or were they simply seeking or looking for the right job and they hadn't found the right product fit, the right environment,
Yeah,
etc.
yeah.
So I never wanted to um, project onto them that they were no good. But if you look at today, there's a lot of people that have very short stints in organizations, and Gen Zs in particular, if they don't have a connection with the organization, they're going to jump very quickly, and they don't have a concern about that.
I guess that's what they're going to do. I do think that I was in a B2B business, selling packaging, a bag to coffee roasters.
Mm,
Um, Thankfully, there was a market there,
mm,
but there was no fast way
mm,
in ours. So if I would have somebody that would come to me, look, I'm willing to give every young guy, if there's two jobs, you get on, you're a young guy, you don't know what the hell you like or don't like.
yeah.
The first person who looks at you wrong, you're like, oh, this is horrible. It's not the way I wanted it. Okay, quit. Then you go to the next one and, oh my God, the boss is an asshole. Okay, you quit. Okay, now you show up at my door. What do I think? Well, okay, maybe seems good. I'm not going to hold that against you.
Mm,
You get out to that 4 or 5 times in an 8 or 9 year period. The common denominator is you.
yeah.
And it is only practical to start thinking, why am I going to invest in this person? If I'm
Mm,
going to get a year and a half, uh, I probably lost money on the first year
yeah.
just paying for you.
Yeah.
And let's face it, in the real game, a year is nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't even know you're here.
Mm,
I mean, I know who you are, I enjoy you, but there hasn't been enough time to even really assess.
yes. You're just getting started
Yeah,
after a
I
12 month
mean,
period.
you're a kid,
Yeah.
you know?
Mark, you mentioned back when you were in inside sales, you were supplying to Starbucks.
That's when I became an outside guy and, became when I became skilled enough in my market that they would entrust that to me.
Okay, okay. So was that an account at the business had won? Or were you part of the, I guess, the winning of that sort of contract?
No, what got me into that role was that our company had never been in this is I'm gonna bore you with all the details, but they had never sold anywhere outside of coffee.
Okay,
And I penetrated into the peanut market.
okay,
And the account that I got there was Planters Peanuts, where we ended up selling them $3 million of machines. And the big game in that was selling the machine and run the film through it,
yeah,
and we got a 5 year contract for the film, which was huge.
yeah,
Never been done before. So I was feted, and told I was great. And one of the things that I wanted to do was let me have somebody under me I can then use them as a multiplier.
hmm
They were like, no, no, no. The guy from Starbucks just quit. We want you to go take Starbucks, which to me was a real, like, I quit within 6 months after that.
Okay.
It was a booby prize.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just going to sit there. They have all the business. So I sit there. If something goes up, what are they going to say? Well, they went up because we had it.
Yeah.
If it goes down, what are they going to say? It goes down because Mark, it's your fault. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh shit.
Yeah.
It wasn't, it was a loss.
Yeah.
Actually, that's what I said to the guy. If I quit. I mean, I quit shortly after getting it.
So that was the catalyst for then moving to the organization, which eventually you ended up buying out.
Yeah. The catalyst was me,
Yeah.
this internal sense of just, and I don't know if anybody's younger or what, or even middle age, whatever, you get that feeling where they say you only make a decision when you think you have no other option. And
Mm.
I got to the point where I just had no other option. And I always wanted to do something. And I had a 1 year non-compete, 3 kids, and I quit. And I quit. So pay went down about 35%, 40%. And I actually started writing a business plan to duplicate the company that I ultimately owned. I
Okay.
liked their model, I liked what they were doing, and I had tried to say, how could I duplicate that? They were on the West Coast, I was on the East Coast. I'm from Philly, and I was
Yeah.
like, well, I'll set up a Atlantic bag. They were on Pacific bag. Um, it so happened the Pacific bag ultimately came to me and said, come work for us.
Hmm.
And I said yes.
Yeah. So 12-month, excuse me, a 12-month non-compete clause. How did you work around that?
Well, I didn't work for a competitor. I found a local guy who had a screwed up machine that was making bags.
Yeah. Okay.
And I got there and he said, I can give you, I only need you for like a year. It was a word of mouth thing. And the minute he said what he could do and needed, I was like, ooh, that's what I need. That's the year.
Yeah.
And I got it. So I quit. And of course, the company, where are you going? What are you doing? And I was just like, well, don't worry. I didn't get into where I'm going. I just said, I'm not competing. I'm not doing anything. I'm going to respect my year. And I did. And actually, the company that hired me one day and a year after the contract.
Wow.
They wanted me to come on.
Yeah.
I knew what I was doing. I think for anybody longevity, that's where it came into. They wanted somebody who had been at that point almost 15 years in the industry.
Mm.
You carry weight now.
Yeah.
Up to a certain point in your career, you are trying to say, "Hey, do you like me? Am I doing a good job? Look at me, look at me." And then at some point you realize I'm an asset.
Yeah.
I know my shit.
Yeah.
And I did. I knew it. And somebody wanted me rather than me wanting the job. And that helped.
If you think back, if you hadn't have been placed on the Starbucks account, do you think you'd be still in this position?
Well, that's a great that isn't that the existential philosophical question of the year.
Well, it's like a sliding doors moment, potentially, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's say this. Here's a trippier thing. When I was back years ago, when I was like 29, I had this thing that said, take a look at your life right now. And I was like, oh shit. You know, I wasn't even married. I'm like, wow, what do you want me to do? So where do you think you'll be in a year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? I did it. I wrote it out and I still have that. And here's the most bizarre thing. In 20 years, I said I would be married, I would have 4 kids, I would have 2 dogs, and I would own a business.
Yeah.
20 years hence from that, I had 5 girls, 3 dogs, a wife, and my own business. Now,
There you
my
go.
question to myself is, did that happen because I wrote it down? Or was that my subconscious demanding that I do that? I don't know. But what I would challenge anybody who's young is do it.
Mm.
Write it
Right.
down.
Write it down.
What do you want to be in 5 years? That seems like a forever.
Yeah.
No, but you do know some things.
Yeah.
So would it have been different? I think I would have quit that job no matter what.
Yeah.
I just
And
do.
you would have found it's almost like cybernetics. You would have found your destination. The temperature would have the thermostat would have pushed you in that direction.
And the problem there is I don't know if it would have been successful.
Well, maybe not, but I mean, it's all if buts and maybes, right? So
Yeah. So now it's like, well, it's like in life. I don't have, there's not two of me running down. Like I can't look over at the side and say, oh, there's that Mark who went the wrong way.
that's right.
It's just one of me, So I guess in the end, I ran the course right. I think in anything you do entrepreneurial, you've got to remember that, I always think, 100 men and women took off from the beginning line, and I was one of them. And we're all smart and
Yeah,
we're all go-getters. And how many of them get to the end with success?
yeah.
10 or 20, maybe 10, maybe five. Is that because I was smarter than all of them? I don't think so. I think I was practical. I think I planned. I think I was fortunate to be in a market that was a solid market. I think I was prudent enough to stay in it.
Mm,
But there's all these other people out there that maybe they didn't have that.
yeah, yeah. And
So go ahead.
I was just going to ask you, and as you said it before, that success is not, and achieving anything takes time, right? So you've got to be in this
Yeah.
for the long haul. And unfortunately, too many people, and particularly I see this in sales all the time, when they're not getting the short-term result, they think, oh, this is not for me. So it's easy for them to move and change and go and do something else versus the ones that stay the course and say, okay, who is it that I am? What is it that I'm good at? How do I want to improve? How do I now educate myself? How do I now get myself a coach or a mentor or somebody that can help me? They're the ones that ultimately will end up achieving the success because they stay the course. But it means that they know exactly what they're trying to achieve and why they're trying to achieve it. And they know that it's not going to be easy.
Well, I think that's very true. There's a book called Grit, Grit, by Angela Buckworth. I think that's her name, Duckworth. And I read that. I read that actually when I was a bit older. And I think I just thought, how do you know when somebody has grit?
Mm,
Because I think grit being it isn't the smart guy. It's do you look at everything as I'm going to get through this, and it may take time, but I'm going to get through.
yeah.
I, I don't know how to put that in somebody.
Mm,
I could argue that if you're raising children, I don't know, make them do stuff. I don't know, but I know that I had it, and that grit was mostly just the things you're talking about. Is the cream will rise to the top,
yes.
sometimes slowly, sometimes quickly,
Mm,
but it will rise. My belief constantly was my seems to be a slow riser. But I just knew it was happening. I don't know how to say it. It was the challenge of the things I was doing that for moments in time I wasn't even thinking about it. I was just zoned in on, I'm going to, in the case of the planters one, I just thought this is going to happen,
yeah.
I could feel it.
Yeah.
It may not, but I could, and I just thought you just push, push, push,
Yeah.
and it got there.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know about you, but most of the people that I meet who are successful have been at it for a long time,
Yeah.
percentage wise, by a long shot.
Yes. Absolutely. And they've been often toiling away, not in the shadows, but away from the limelight. And they've been fine-tuning, getting the miles in, getting the nose, dusting themselves off, redoing business plans, staying the course. And all of a sudden they get that breakthrough and everybody says, wow, you're so lucky. Wish I could be like you. Mark, how do you get so lucky? You've gone from zero to hero in what seems to be overnight. He said,
Well, it
wow.
was it was 26 to 49 is when I was fully free of all my per se. I was making good money, but it
Mm,
wasn't until I was four. So that's 23 years. and thousands of sales calls.
Yeah. Yeah.
I read some guy I was listening to recently, I can't remember, and he said, I've been at this for 20 years and I've probably been on 2,000 sales calls. And I was running through my mind and I'm like, well, I blew him away.
Mm.
I've clearly done 3,500 in my life. I know that.
Yeah.
So what are you doing there?
Yeah.
When they finally picked the guy who was going to run the business for the new investors, they picked the guy with 16 years experience.
Hmm.
That was me. And I was there.
Yeah.
So when they had to make the crunch decision of, do we unload this company and just dump it, or do we let some other guy run it and see if we can get our money out? Who did they didn't look to the guy with 5 years.
Yeah.
That's when the 16 years was that's when I realized, aha, they want that experience.
Yeah.
And the shit had hit the fan elsewhere, and I happened to be at the right spot, but I moved across the country,
Mm.
with three kids at the time. Then I made two more. So, so I was praying for somebody to find me.
So let's then talk about the fact that, I mean, 23 years, and again it comes back to the slow burn but staying on course. You would have gone through a lot of challenges, and certainly the reward at the end of it is fantastic, where you get to sell the organization for many times the multiples, as you've sort of alluded to. But
Yeah.
I'm sure that not all of it was smooth sailing. I'm sure there would have been some challenges and some dicey moments where you might have been questioning yourself in terms of, did I make the right decision? Am I on the right course, etc. Can you just talk through some of those thought process? I'm really interested in the mindset that you needed to draw upon in order to continue to move forward, knowing that you're on the right path.
Well, first off, for me, I maybe it's inherent. I think a lot of successful people this way. There's inherently a sense of an insecurity. I
Mhm.
have to prove something. I have to. There's an eye in the sky that I have to win.
Yeah.
And what is that for? I think it's a deeper insecurity that I have to do this. And now, how does that manifest itself? Well, for me, it was, yeah, there was time when I came out here, there was a period of time where the investors were threatening to get rid of me. And I had my fourth child. They were going to ship me back to Seattle with a very small amount of money. And I had a terrible period of depression
Okay.
for me, and really hard, where the only thing that I could see in front of me was this. I was driving on the bridge once in Seattle, and I thought, why am I doing this? What is this? And I couldn't see the end. And the only conclusion, I don't know where this came from, was because you're here and this is you. And it's just some weird sense of fate that it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I can't tell people that, but it was, I know the market. I know what I'm doing. I have faith in myself. This isn't going to go fast, but I'm going to get there.
Hmm.
And that was just in there. And through days where, if anybody has ever experienced depression, it's a terrible thing.
Mm.
You don't want to get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
It's like pulling yourself off Velcro. Why
Mm.
did you do it? Because I had to.
Yeah.
Because I guess I have grit.
Yes. But at the time, you may not have known that it was grit, but you knew you had to take a step and keep moving forward.
Yeah. I just knew that, I have this plan. I know the thing I can see way out there.
Yeah.
It's just not visible right now. And that's where I'm not super Joe religious guy. I'm just not, but I do have a faith that
Yes.
something was going to work out right. Something. And I that was it. And it was hard. I got financial people will try and screw you. I had one of them that tried to do a trick on me with one of the financial things on the back end. that was very disappointing.
Yeah.
Somebody that I truly trusted tried to screw me.
Yeah.
And that hurts deeply at a personal level. Like I
Mm,
trusted you,
mm,
and you become a little jaded, a little bit like the next one who comes down the line. It's cautious optimism.
yes.
It's like, I really like you, but you
I'm not
might
quite sure.
screw me,
Yeah, exactly.
and anybody who's younger, um, no decision has to be made immediately.
Mm,
If somebody starts this crap with you, like, I need a decision within a week, I need a decision within 2 days. Wait a minute. If something's so good, why do we have to do it in a week? It doesn't, we haven't even talked. We haven't even planned. And now you want to do it in a goddamn week?
oh,
Yeah, I need an answer. I need an answer. Okay, you want an answer? No. How's that? It's rare that you have to make a decision.
it's this man. It might sound intuitive because I know a lot of sales teams and sales people are going to listen to this and say, "Oh, we've got the end of the month coming up, we've got the end of the quarter coming up, and etc. We've got to get our sales numbers in." And I was always of the view it's just such a it's an arbitrary date. Why do we have the arbitrary date? Well, because the internal mechanism, the financial guys need to report to the marketplace how successful or not we are.
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
customers are still going to be in a position to buy the day after that. So
Well,
why do I have to do
yeah,
it so quickly?
it's a mental, like, and I had it where, I have to make a payment to the investors in 3 months, and you got to have the money unless I don't.
Yeah.
Unless I don't.
Yes.
And what are they going to do? They're going to say, "Would you get it?" If I said, "But I can get it to you next month," and that doesn't mean I'm not nervous and anxious and trying like hell to close things.
Yeah.
But when you're selling to people, you can't look over hungry. You
Mm.
you you lose your credibility.
Yes.
You're creating a relationship. And if all of a sudden your need for money takes front level over your need to satisfy a customer, they will know.
Mm. They
You
will.
know,
I often call that commission breath, Mark.
yeah, yeah. You know that feeling. Like I've had people come in to sell to me, and you can feel it.
Yeah.
There,
Yeah.
there was a book I read once called years ago called Confident Selling, and I loved it because it said nothing is more powerful than being authentic.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean letting this demand come over top of you, because
Mm.
that's not authentic. Who are you? Walk in, be you.
Mm.
And if you are somebody who wants to help, which
Yes.
is ultimately what I want to do,
Mm.
honestly, I love making money, but I love having somebody trust me,
Mm.
and feeling a great sense of that's a great responsibility. They're running a business and they're saying, "Mark, what should we do?"
Yes. Yes. And you never take that lightly.
No, no, because you knock yourself out to get there with people.
Yeah.
And I've always thought that if you just need to be you.
Mm.
It's like these scripts they give you. Yeah, they're great, but you got to go home and practice them. Like they say that when Michael Jordan in basketball turns around, he's going to take a 15-foot shot to win a game. He's not thinking.
No.
It's all just,
Yep.
and you will get to the point when you're selling.
Yep.
For anybody who's young out there, where you can get smacked pretty much any direction in the head, and you just move with it.
Mm.
You just, and that takes time.
It does.
It just
And it
takes time.
stays and it takes staying in the game as well
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
continuing to work on your craft. So all the things you've spoken about, like the fact that you started to invest in yourself, you're reading the books, you're listening to tapes. You mentioned Dino. I mean, phenomenal books. I've got a few of his books here on my bookshelf.
Yeah.
Brian Tracy. I mean, he's still going. He's still doing
Yeah.
stuff
Oh, the
today.
guy does. Yeah. I mean, you can tell anybody out there. I did psychology of selling, which to this day, it's outdated in the way they talk about it. It'll be like, and get his charge X, and I'm like, what's a charge X? It's some damn way you paid 30 years ago, but the psychological it's there.
It
I mean,
is.
anybody who's new, read Psychology of Selling, listen to it.
Yeah.
There's books out there. There's ones on strategic selling. Listen to them.
Mm.
These people are smart. Listen to this show, the
Yes.
Exceptional Sales Leader podcast. Dead serious. I listened to 10 of your episodes. I loved them. They're just people
Thank you.
saying stuff that's like, hey, that is real.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
And
Thank you.
why would somebody not, if you're going to play the game, you're going to get blown away by people who aren't playing it. I'm playing the game. If you're a young guy, if you were near me and you were within 3-4 years of me a profession, I'm practicing.
Yeah. And that's the thing. There's so much internal competition. You want to be the best you can be, and it's not the fact you want to win against everybody else, but it's going to be really, really difficult for somebody to be better than you because you're going to be more prepared. You're going to be more practiced. You're just going to be more tenacious. You're going to have,
Yeah.
as you talked about, you're going to have the level of grit that you've been alluding to.
I think the thing that I find as a guy who's running a business now, looking at it from that perspective, first off, if you run a business and you are disrespectful to people who report to you, I think nothing quickly ruins an environment more than that.
Mm,
You're not better. I used to say, I'm not in this little bubble. I'm the boss.
yeah,
Once we leave the bubble, I'm just a guy.
that's it.
Now, never lose this. When you're the guy who can dictate somebody's paycheck, um, you're scary.
Yeah.
No
To
matter
them.
how nice you act,
Mm,
let's face it, when somebody can turn off the flow of your money coming in, the person who, if you were working for me and I'm talking, hey, tell me exactly what you think, um, and I can fire you,
mm.
the dynamic changes.
Yeah, it does.
And don't kid yourself. That's an unfortunate thing, but it's just very real. So what can you do? You give them the room to make their own decisions.
Mm.
Let them. That's what people want. They want to flourish.
Totally, totally.
And I don't know how to find. How do you find somebody with grit?
It's a great question. I don't know anybody's got the answer. And I'm just wondering whether it's something that people have it innately and
Yeah,
whether you can learn, whether you can build the muscle of grit. You can build the muscle of resilience, but what there must be something that is just innate within people.
I believe that. I
Yeah.
believe that. Now, in the States, I have found that guys from bigger cities. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the pressures and the demands in that environment, the ability to move with your personality. Doesn't mean everybody's like me. They aren't all. You will meet type B people who are fantastic at sales. Um, but the grit side, I've always said, one old guy in the South once said to me about one of my salesmen. He said, Mark, and I'm like, yeah, from the South. He said, Mark, that boy you're bringing in here, Mark, that dog don't hunt. And I remember thinking, like, literally, I'm like, he's right. That dog just doesn't hunt. You
Yeah.
bought a hound dog and he's not a hound. And how do you find that? I think it's the trick of anybody like us that's watching these things. Um, and I think it's the kid who leaves in 18 months probably doesn't have it.
Mm. And maybe what they're doing is they're searching for the answer outside of themselves, not realizing the answer actually is within them.
I think, maybe it's my Irish Catholic guilt, you know? I joke about it, but there's just a sense, and I don't know how you find that in people, that there's a sense that, I guess it's a weird sense of I'm not good enough. I have to be better. I have to prove myself. I guess at a very deep level, are they good things to have? Well, I guess I'd like to be Buddha,
Mm,
and just hang out and like, I'm enjoying this moment, but I didn't have that. I
yeah,
had a
it's
sense of, and we went through this so much with the two guys that ran our sales groups for me. How do you find that? And
mm,
and but I'll tell you one thing: when you see it, you know it.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure you've experienced that when you meet.
Oh, absolutely.
How do
Absolutely.
you do it? How do you do it? I mean, you're in the business with
Oh,
sales leadership, but what would be your advice?
I look for patterns in terms of, and it's not necessarily patterns in what they've done in the sales career. I look for things they've done outside. So, for example, there was a who on the surface didn't have a lot of sales experience, but what she demonstrated was tenacity, persistence, discipline, because she'd been practicing as a ballerina for like 15
Oh,
years leading up to her early 20s. And so that taught me that she had discipline, she had structure, she had flexibility that I could teach. So she had those innate qualities I was looking for. And she went on to be one of the best salespeople I've ever had. And she's now a leader within Gartner, the global organization, and doing
good for
great,
her.
great
Good
work.
for her.
So,
Yeah,
but there's a lot that you just think, yeah, on the surface they look, yeah, they talk a good. Then when they come in
yeah.
and start to work, it's like, as you
It's
said, this dog don't hunt.
it just doesn't hunt, you know? I mean, and it is so interesting because you don't want to acknowledge it. You know, you want to say, "Oh, I'll just push them a little further." And I think the other thing when you're running a business or anybody managing, it doesn't matter whether you're running or not, is, you know, there's this sort of Hollywood version of if that person isn't any good, get rid of them,
Yeah,
move on. Well,
yeah,
I remember my dad used to say, the day after you get rid of them, who's going to do that job?
that's it.
You.
You are.
You know, now, so I've always said, you know, the fact of the matter is, you C players are inevitable.
Mm,
Problem is, you get C or nothing.
yes.
And you spend, I know for guys like you and others, that you spend enormous amount of energy trying to get a C to a B.
Yeah.
And probably they're not going to get there.
No.
You know, the B's are good and they hopefully they want to be A's. The A's, they're A's. They're A's. They're going to run their ass off.
Yeah.
Um, so how do you, I think a lot of younger people in business think, oh, and I did this too. Why aren't they working hard enough? My God, if they don't have more drive and determination, just get rid of them. They're no good, you know? They're going to conquer the world, you know? And then you realize, well, if I get rid of three of my 12 salespeople, I just gave up 25% of my force.
Yeah. And there's a big hole that's created because then you've got to try and fill it. And
Yeah.
chances are
And,
you might fill it with not more C's and maybe some D's.
or it's going to take you 3 months to fill it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a huge sales management issue
Mm,
is what do you do with that? And
yeah.
I know I've read about it that people just pour money into trying to get C's to be B's.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't know how you,
it's
I don't,
it's yeah, I don't think there's a singular answer, but what I do know is you've got to create an environment where people can thrive. You've got to identify if a C player is a C player, the question I've always got to ask is, do they have the capability of moving to a do they want to move to a B, or the C player, could they be an A player at being a C?
that's a very good point. That's a very good point. I know for me, what we would do with a C player is we would generally move them into what we would just call an account manager.
Yeah,
You know, now you've got a 3 million book of business. You know, I want some growth out of it, but what I want to have to do is not go backwards.
yeah,
And will you just maintain?
yeah,
And what happens there is that means less money. And the
mm,
thing you also realize is that's okay for some people.
yeah,
That's what they want to be.
mm,
Um, and that's very frustrating if you're trying to grow a business.
mm,
But sometimes that's what you got,
yeah.
you know, and reality is, yeah, get them out of here. Well, then who's going to handle that $3 million of business?
Well, that's the thing, and often, unless they're toxic, unless they're actually causing discourse within the
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
dysfunction within the business, you're probably better off keeping them playing to their strengths, giving them opportunities to play to those strengths, and looking at how you restructure or structure people around them
Yep.
rather than getting rid of them. So it's
Well, if they're a
best thing
cancer,
you've
you
done.
got, I mean, it's nothing worse than somebody who's a C player and try to pull everybody down. That's just, and that'll happen. You get people who just want to walk around, they want to bitch and complain. Why
Yeah.
didn't I get a raise? Why did Joe get a raise? I hate Susie.
Yeah.
These are things that you can't, I don't think anywhere you can practically run an organization.
No.
Um, and
No.
some of them are very sneaky. Ooh, they're sneaky. They can, it takes a while to like go, I know there's something rotten in Denmark. I just can't figure it out yet.
Yeah, it's the old passive aggressive,
Yeah.
the subterfuge and the sniping behind the scenes.
I will
Um,
say if you're from the Pacific Northwest, passive aggressive is a very real thing. It's not where I'm from
right.
and from back east, where it took me a while to learn how to manage people in that environment.
Yeah.
They're great, they're smart, they do everything, but they don't. They have a hard time being direct,
Yeah.
and
Interesting.
it's like, how do you handle that?
Yeah.
Well, they're smart. They're the same thing. They're humans. They just have been brought up in a different culture,
Mm.
you know, and they are very evasive.
So, Mark, before as we wrap this up, been a phenomenal conversation. It'd be remiss of me not to ask you about the Mark Howley Show, a show
Oh,
you've been running for a while. You mentioned before you do a lot of the episodes in a studio, and you're going to start doing some more from where you are now. But can you just give us a bit of a synopsis of the purpose of the show and what you've learnt so far in
yeah.
running the program?
I'll say two things and I'll be as quick as I can. The show's idea is how did you do it and why?
Hmm.
And it really boils down to questions that we've talked about. It would intrigue me to know why did you do what you did and why, and how. It's a part. It's not why. It's how did you do it and why. And
Yeah.
I'm fascinated at that because some people have these really weird careers, and you're like, why does he want to do that? And I feel like a lot of young people think that maybe it isn't all about wealth. There are people that are driven in all sorts of ways. But what you realize about all of them is to get from where they are to where they have gotten, it takes work
Mm.
and it takes bouncing around. I interviewed a guy who was a high up in a company. He quit the job and he runs a shelter for dogs now.
Wow.
That was his passion. Now, to me, I hear that and I go, you're crazy. When I first think of that. But then I realized, well, that's not, so that's really my goal is to try and send a message to younger people or middle-aged that it's okay to be confused. It's okay to be knocked off your pins, but
Mm.
it's not okay to stop,
Yeah,
that there's a path
it
and
is.
it takes time
Yeah.
and, but you will get there.
Yeah.
I am firmly of belief if you keep plugging, you'll get there.
Yeah.
The other side of the business, the podcast is I work a lot with the recovery community. I'm very engaged in it. I work with a lot of younger men who are in terrible straits and a lot of them fail. There's some of those people on my show, the ones that have succeeded.
Nice.
More recently, I've had some kids that have been, one who was a felon, a kid from the inner city. I think that's a platform to let people know that these kids are trying.
Yeah.
They
Fantastic.
how did you do it and why? How did you get out of jail and be a felon and then you can't find a job?
Yeah.
Like, how do you drive yourself? I
Yeah.
think it all gets down to what we've been talking about: grit,
Mm.
tenacity, finding a plan, having faith that it will take time.
Yeah.
Uh, but I like doing it. And the other one, of course, is dealing with five girls, which is in and of itself God's gift, to me, for getting married at 31 and having too much fun. I mean, I went to rehab, but let me tell you what, it was a lot of fun before rehab. You
Man, that is you must be able to there's got to be a medal for five.
know? You've got two. Come on, they're women. Women are, I hate to say it, I think they're smarter than us. I do.
Oh,
I
that's
do
just,
think.
mate, I know exactly. I sit on the the pecking order. Don't worry about that.
Oh, I'm at the bottom, and we got dogs too. I'm behind them.
I've got one dog, and she's a girl, obviously. We've got chickens;
As
they're
are
all
mine.
girls. Mate, I'm surrounded by females. It's just awesome. But I love it, love it.
Well, I'll leave
So,
it this.
Mark,
I'm having a grandson in
nice.
about hopefully in the next week or two, and this will be the first male to present itself within our family.
Is that
It's
right?
it's a victory for the male private parts. That's what I call it. We have finally brought another one in.
Well, hopefully everything goes well, and
I do.
congratulations
I
ahead
hope
of
so
time.
too. I hope so too.
So, Mark, thank
Uh,
you so much for being on the podcast. For people who
Thank
want to
you.
know about you and to connect with you, and obviously get access to the Mark Howley Show, where's the best place for them to do that?
You can look up the Mark Howley Show online. We have our episodes are on Spotify, Apple. We have a TikTok, we have a Instagram, Facebook, all under the name Mark Howley, which is MarkHowley, Mark Howley. And yeah, I'd love to have you check it out. And
Awesome.
but most importantly, keep listening to Mr. Mitchell here. Mr.
Thanks for the plug, Mark. Greatly appreciate it.
No, I've listened to quite a bit of it, and I think you do a great job. I like the advice people give. I
Excellent.
truly do.
Thank
So
you. Thank you. It's been a
thank
pleasure
you.
having you on the podcast, and good luck in your continual journey on, and as you break out and build yours to global proportions as well.
Yeah, I see myself being very, very wealthy and rich as a result of my podcast.
I can see $100 million Joe Rogan-esque type contract coming to Spotify. It's coming your way, Mark. They haven't quite caught me yet, so maybe I need to put my mobile number on Spotify's watch list or something.
Well, hey, listen, you never know. Just
You
keep
never know.
plugging. Just keep plugging.
Well, you know what? It's just the long game. You just stay.
Wait, pardon me. Don't you have like 800 episodes?
Yeah, I've just yes. So
Wow,
this one today is yeah, we're over, so we're probably approaching about 820 now. So
good for you.
yeah, it's
That's
good.
persistence. I mean, that's commitment.
Well, I just love talking to great people and shining a light on them, but also getting them to shine a light on, sales leadership, and people listening to that, they may not resonate with me, and that's perfectly okay, but guarantee they're going to resonate with a lot of the guests. So that's the reason we do it, to rate, I guess, the caliber of sales out there, and to change the net. And sales is actually a great profession, and it's one to be proud of.
Sure is.
Yeah.
Sure is. Sure is.
Mark, it's been
Anyway,
an absolute pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for being a guest on the Exceptional Sales Leader podcast.
thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Exceptional Sales Leader podcast. I trust the information in this episode has been helpful in your journey towards becoming exceptional. And remember, please take the time to rate the show, subscribe to the show so other people can find it. But also, if I can help you, jump on my calendar, go to leadwithdarren.com, and let's have a conversation about how I can help you along your journey to being exceptional.